Or caudally through the embryo, okay? So now we have the next portion of the embryo, the next section in the embryo, moving towards the tail of the embryo. Again, here we have the developing eye, right? So what you know, this looks like neuroectoderm right here, okay? Still part of the diencephalon. We get a portion of the diencephalon called the infundibulum here. And then this here is Rathke's pouch. Rathke's pouch is important because that is where we're going to get the development of, this is important in the embryologic development of the pituitary gland. Exactly. And then this is the pharynx right here. Why is it just the anterior pituitary gland? Do you have your histology yet? Where does the posterior pituitary gland develop from? The posterior pituitary gland is the neurohypophysis. Develops actually as an outgrowth of the brain. Okay? So just remember that the pituitary gland is the anterior pituitary gland, and there's a posterior pituitary gland as well, and develops from an outgrowth of the brain. Okay, so just understand that. So very appropriately, yes, this is where the anterior pituitary gland develops, and the association embryologically with the posterior pituitary gland happens at this location as well, because what's going to happen is there's going to be axons that develop into extend into and develop the posterior pituitary gland as well. Let's go one more level, and we have this structure right here, and there's been a couple of questions here as well. Remember here we've got the developing eye, right? We've got more neuroectoderm. We're moving actually more towards, we're actually moving more towards the cranial part of the brain here and more towards the caudal myelencephalon here as we move down through the embryo, right? So we're moving cranially here. This is a cranial section to the previous section, and it's a more caudal section of the myelencephalon to the previous section. But now we start to get into these structures where we start to get into the pharynx, and we start to get into these pouches that extend off of the pharynx. Those are the pharyngeal pouches. So this structure here is the first pharyngeal pouch, okay? And this here is the first pharyngeal groove, which lies here. This depression is the first pharyngeal groove. And extending across that first pharyngeal groove is the closing plate, okay? This structure here becomes the first aortic arch, here and here. And this is going to become the mandibular process, and this the maxillary process, okay? Yep.